My name is Tom Kelly. I'm the owner and president of Neil Kelly Design Build Remodeling. We're in Portland, Oregon. My dad started the company. He was actually he came across from Minnesota in the Depression, rode the rails out. He was a farm kid with an 8th grade education, and the family was really kind of almost literally starving, and he had to find some income. So he came out to the Northwest and worked on Grand Coulee Dam. Worked for a guy by the name of Henry Kaiser, who was the Kaiser health clinics we have today were from his business and his progressive values, and actually that guy I think influenced my dad a lot. So he helped build Grand Coulee Dam, which was in those days one of the largest projects ever done. Ended up landing in Portland during the war, working in the shipyards, and after the war he went to work for a company doing what we do, although it was one of those classic kind of high pressure sales kind of organizations, and he didn't like that, so he, within a year or so, started his own company. He bought a company called Northwest Weatherproofing for $100. And that was the genesis of our company in 1947. My dad was, he was, obviously I'm not objective, but he was one of those special kind of people, very highly regarded in this town because of his involvement in the community. Some years back, some management students at Portland State did a study on us, and they came to the conclusion that it was a for-profit company, but it was really there so that Tom and Neil could do their community service. Again, he was really influenced by Henry Kaiser, who was one of the great industrialists, but maybe one of the first great progressive business people in the United States, who had values about giving back to the community and taking care of employees and educating them, that sort of thing. And that's I think that was a really big influence on my father. In the 70s, this part of town was the ghetto around where our company is. And rather than move out, we stayed. Rather than just be white business people who hung back and complained and put bars on our windows, my dad went out there and aggressively got involved in trying to bring the community up by the bootstraps. He and another guy single-handedly walked up and down Union Avenue, which is a main drag up here, and convinced all the business people that changing that street's name to Martin Luther King was a good thing to do, which I don't think it would have happened had those two men not done that. So he got involved in all kinds of things like that were supportive of the community. And we're not, in the world of businesses, we're a somewhat small business. We have 150 employees these days, I think, total, down a little bit because of the economy. My role is to be the leader of the organization and overall to make sure that we're managing ourselves on a day-to-day basis well, and to participate in the community. That is a lot of what we do. I've been heavily involved in an organization called the Natural Step, which is a business organization that really focuses on what business can do to help the environment, to help our issues with global warming. I was the founding chair of the Oregon Business Association, which was a new business association we started 10 years ago to bring a more progressive perspective to lobbying for business issues and for statewide issues like education, the environment, transportation, that sort of thing. Leveraging the position that I have in the community to help move along public policy that is creates a good environment for business, which means well-educated employees, which means a vibrant community, which means good transportation, a healthy environment. All of those things come together to. Oregon has great assets, but we also have, in many ways, shortchanged ourselves, and now we have to kind of fight back against that and get our education institutions back into shape where they should be. We built the first LEED certified building in Oregon. So another fundraising project I was involved in was for a kid's school, and we were raising money to put an addition on the school, and it was the first LEED certified facility in the Catholic school system. And for me, when you see where you can have an impact, it isn't that we did that. It is every day that those kids are going to go to that school, and they're going to be learning about environmental responsibility, because the building they're in is that, and it exudes that. So that sort of impact where you can have long-term a long-term impact on kids, I think that's when I get excited too. I'm what's called a co-convener for an Oregon Solutions project, and it's for a town that's a small lumber town 45 minutes from Portland that has had 2 floods in the last 12 years, that basically the town has to be rebuilt on higher ground. So it's a small community, lumber community, that if they've now passed a school bond for $13 million, but it's a $37 million project. And it's kind of the way I describe it is it's Oregon's New Orleans, or Oregon's Katrina. I think it's the kind of thing that, again, the business people should be involved in doing and I actually do think the business community in Oregon will stand up to bat on this project and contribute and help this town get back on its feet. And meanwhile, these kids are in trailers, and it's an awful situation. The people in Vernonia have been living in FEMA trailers just like the folks in New Orleans had to. A lot of their housing got wiped out, and a lot of the housing had to be moved too. If you have an employee standing in the line at the grocery store and they got your company name, and somebody says, you got a great company you work for, all right? You can't buy that, you can't sell it. And people don't go to work just for a paycheck. They go to work as part of their life, and if you can make that life be a step better at your company than the rest of your competition or whatever else job they might be able to get, you're going to attract people. Certainly our environmental values, because we're known as a company that is engaged in sustainability and so on, that attracts. The last 2 managers I've hired are our sales manager and our controller, and actually the last 3 when I think about it, because the gentleman who runs our new home division, they all were attracted to Neil Kelly Company by our values, and particularly in sustainability and giving back to the community. You have to pay people well and all that sort of thing, but much more powerful than the money. You want to give them some self-worth of why they do what they do every day. The reality of it is, in all these issues, the most powerful force in our society is business on the positive side, if we want to be. And that's the message that I would want to give to business people, is that they understand that the change that's going to happen can be much more powerful, happen much more quickly if business gets behind it and leverages what influence it has for the common good. Having money, which is profit, and the success of business is great, but it can be kind of hollow if that's all you're taking out of society. So we have a tremendous opportunity to give back to the community, and when I say that, not just writing checks, which I think is important, but giving our time in our brains to help the community move along. I think people who just assemble a lot of wealth and that's it, or people that just build a company up and sell it, and then they have got a lot of money. Where does that leave you? It's kind of an empty glass, and if you really engage in business and in life in a lot of different ways that help other people, it's a whole it's a whole another way of living your life that is much more fulfilling, I think.